Settlement building can be a lot of fun, but it often takes way longer than you imagine it would because you have to place absolutely every single piece yourself. And there are definitely times when you want to scream at the settlers, please stop complaining about the lack of furniture and build some yourself. Welcome to Starlight Drive-In, a settlement for settlers, by settlers, mostly. That's right, this settlement for the most part was actually built by the settlers who live here. Each settler here built their very own house, some of them built shops, some of them built bars, some built factory workshops so they could collect scrap, and some built farms with a variety of different crops. And no, this is not a broken down synthetic settler, it's actually a scarecrow. Indeed, the vast majority of this somewhat vibrant shantytown was built by the settlers themselves. All I did really was supply them some electricity, I gave them a water pump at the centre of town, right there, and I supplied the defences. I built turrets and a few guard posts. That's pretty much all I did except for manage the settlers. And this was all made possible by a mod called Sim Settlements by the mod author King Gath. And if that name rings a bell, it's because I've covered one of his mods before, and it was a mod that I called the greatest mod ever, and I stand by that title. It was, of course, Salvage Beacons, which I think is a phenomenal mod. But this mod technically might be better. Nothing's ever going to replace Salvage Beacons in my heart as the greatest mod ever, but this mod, well, it's pretty damned incredible. This mod addresses and solves two of the biggest problems facing the settlement system. The first problem it solves is the problem of time. Building a settlement can take ages. I mean, you could be spending 50 hours on a single settlement if you really want to get it right. Take this Nordhagen beach settlement. I did, oh god, I've no idea how many hours I sank into this settlement, and you know, these sort of things will dominate your time and you will find yourself getting a little fed up. You can maybe do one or two settlements before the inevitable sets in and you start finding new settlements and, well, you know what happens. It's just temporary, I promise. I'll be back. Even if you're a dedicated builder, it becomes a little tedious. And if you really aren't into the building side of things and you just wanted to manage settlements, it's terrible. I mean, you really don't have the time nor the inclination to build these great settlements. The second problem that Sim Settlements seems to solve is a problem that's a little more insidious. It's the problem of personalization. Because you can build these settlements, but very often the hardest part is making it look like it's actually lived in. You spend ages placing junk, but it's never enough. And the settlers themselves, well, they don't really seem to own anything. They don't seem to care. And so neither do you, really. You care more about the settlement than the settlers, and you become obsessed with the structure. Is the wall good enough? Do they have the correct amenities? And something gets lost. Sim Settlement solves both of these problems pretty much in one go. It took me only about an hour, maybe a little over an hour, to build this shanty town, and I wasn't even trying to design it correctly. I was just testing all the different building types. I wasn't trying to make it look good. This was purely for testing purposes. I actually recorded the footage of me creating this and thought I'd release it, but I somehow accidentally destroyed it, so I can't. But it took about an hour to build in its basic form. Then the settlers did the rest, because I didn't actually build any of these buildings. I didn't choose that this house would look like that, or that this house would look like a caravan. The settlers themselves chose that. I didn't choose what shops they would set up or how they would look. All I did was say, right, we'll have some shops here. They did the rest, and it took so little time. And I suspect I could do the process again in a few minutes, actually. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to show you how I built this. But before I do, I want to show you what I mean by it solving the second problem. As soon as you walk into any of these buildings, you can see the sort of the feeling that somebody either lives here or has a place of business here. This is a workshop that somebody is actually working in. It looks alive. The houses all look a little different with different types of clutter in them. Each residence feels like it's got its own unique personality, and this, by extension, gives the settlers themselves a feeling of having more personality. You can see this house is actually a little cleaner than the rest. It's been upgraded in spite of the fact that the settler himself looks like he's a little unhygienic. His place is actually pretty well decked out. He spent a little more time upgrading his house than his neighbour, but that's something all of them will probably do eventually. These houses change with time. Each time I came back, one of two of the buildings had been upgraded. Some of the houses had gained new ornamentation, for example, the lions. Some of the shops had improved. These shops started out as tiny little shacks with a chair, and that's it. Now, the weapon shop has weapon racks, it even has a turret. I didn't place any of that, and it grows organically, he says, looking at the food store. And this makes it feel like a real community. The first time I visited this house after it had been upgraded, I found a laser tripwire here. And it didn't do anything. Obviously the person in this house just liked little gadgets. There were lots of little electronic things around. And it made her a little different, a little interesting. Her next upgrade though was to place spotlights on the roof. For what reason I have no idea. But apparently her neighbour and her are in a bit of a competition because he built a giant radio antenna. This workshop started out as a great pile of dirt with junk in it, quite literally. And these agricultural plots were very bare bones, just a patch of dirt with a couple of crops giving only 2 food. But over time they've been upgraded, they've gained irrigation systems, and now they give 6 food for each plot. This really feels like a living, breathing settlement that is going to change over time because it does. This mod also makes it so that managing your settlement is more enjoyable. In fact, it actually adds the concept of managing your settlement because let's face it, usually once you're finished with the settlement, you're done and you never really have to think about anything. Well, with this mod installed, you do have to think about things like water, power and defense. Each time you build a plot or each time they upgrade, some more demands are placed upon your settlement. You may need more defense. Believe it or not, the more residents you have, the more buildings you have, the lower your defense is. So the more turrets you're going to need, the more guards you're going to need. The more water you're going to need to provide them if you've got agricultural plots. These will require a lot more water as they upgrade. This mod comes with a very useful heads-up display element if you are using the HUD framework. It will tell you the various needs that your settlement has, and you'll want to keep these bars at their maximum if you want your settlers to upgrade places. If you're lacking in defense or water or even power, you will find these buildings will not get upgraded to the next level. So keep your eyes on those. Don't worry if you don't like that particular heads up display element, you can turn it off because there is a holotape that you're going to need to find to actually activate the entire mod, and it will let you change a variety of things including the heads up display element, which I've just turned off right there. There are actually a lot of options with this mod, and you can change a lot of different things to tweak this to your liking. I'm not going to show you most of them because, quite frankly, the mod author has already done that in a series of videos that explain this mod in great depth. If you want to know how everything works, from the changing needs, the tax system, everything like that, you can check his videos out. He's already done the work there. But you can turn off things like the auto assign. This mod will assign settlers to plots that you build if you want. And if you turn that off, you get to do it yourself. You get to assign different settlers to the different plots. You can change it so that they will not upgrade their houses until you see them. So you have to come back every now and again, and then when you see them, they will start upgrading the houses. You'll see the frameworks going on. This is actually set on by default. This gives you more of a feeling of seeing the city or the settlement growing. I turned it off for testing purposes whilst I was trying to speed the process up. As I said, if you want details on how this mod works, do check out the mod author's own videos. In this video, I'm trying to give you a sense of what the mod will provide, how it will help you overcome some of the problems that you might have with settlement building. To give you an idea of how quickly you can build a settlement once you've got the hang of the system, I'm going to rebuild the settlement at Starlight Drive-In. I'm not going to do it completely, but you'll get the idea. I've already made a power source, water extractors, defense, and a chemistry bench. You're going to need a chemistry bench to create the sensors that you need. I've also cheated and added City Manager 2078 holotape. You're going to need to activate this for the first time. This will enable the mod. Once you've done this, at the time of making this video, you also need to read the ASAM sensor info. You should probably do that anyway, get some background on what is going on, to be able to build the sensors. Once I've done that, I can go along to the chemistry bench, go to the utility section, and create as many sensors as I think I'll need. So I now have everything I need to create the different plots. Let's get started by making some residences. We've got 6 settlers, so we're going to need 6 residences. Now, there is a normal residential plot. You could place this one, but I don't recommend doing it unless the ground is absolutely flat. The residence will look like it's floating. Either place it on a concrete floor or a wooden one. I actually quite like the wooden one. Where do I want to place this? I think I'm going to place it roughly here, and I'm going to place a second one. They will snap to each other, and you can see there's a vague shape of an arrow at the front that will show you where the exit is going to be. So I'm going to place 2 like that. Then I'm going to place maybe 1, 2. No, I don't have a third one like that. I'll place another here. Let's have some separate ones. Let's have a couple of separated ones so they look a little, you know, private. And we can even have things closer to the water, although I'm going to have shops and things there. So we'll stagger them a bit just to make it look a little organic. Or if you want, you can actually place them up quite high. I'm not going to do that right now. I now have 6 houses. They do need power. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. These are the sort of things you have to do yourself, the power. So I'm going to make a bunch of pylons. I'm going to put that up there, because I don't like to connect things to the settlement beacon, just in case I decide to turn the settlement beacon off. Okay, so I've placed pylons in a ring around the settlement. That means I'll have an easy time connecting all of the buildings later on. And then I can connect the power lines to the buildings. Now, you can actually connect the power lines between the different plots if you want. I mix and match depending on what they build. Sometimes they build quite tall structures and you might want to move the wires so that it looks good. Make sure all of these are wired up if you want them to be producing contentment. It's not exactly happiness, but if you want them to upgrade, You will see the indicator change once it detects all of my plots have got power. It can take several seconds before it recognises this, so do not worry if it doesn't immediately happen. They will auto-assign, but to speed the process up, I'm just going to run around and give them all a house. As you can see, scaffolding goes up. Now, you can slow the process down, as I mentioned, and it will take, I think, about 36 hours in-game for the houses to be built, which is more realistic. I'm going to leave it like this so we see it happening and can get the ball rolling. I cannot find the other two settlers, so I'll let them find their own houses. Of course, now we're going to need... Oh, you finished it. Good. Well done. We're going to need some agriculture. So let's go for the agricultural plot. Now, these do not have any bases, but don't worry. They get big piles of dirt. I'm going to place 4 plots here. They do snap if you get them right. Oh, there you are. But I'm not going to bother trying to get it right at this. Oh, there you go. I'm going to place one at the back here as well. So I've now got 4 plots. Oh, I think that one's overlapping, that one. Is that better? Nope, let's move it back a bit further. Oh, no, it's snapping into place there. Okay, there you go. We've got 4 agricultural plots. These do not need power. And in their initial state, they will only create 2 food each, which means you're probably going to start off with most of your settlers being farmers. Now, this settler's finished building his house. The next thing to do is to give him a job. Now, you notice when I let me cancel that. When I look at him, do you notice his house is highlighted? That means it's assigned to him. If I now assign him to a plot, if you hover over a settler, not only can you see that he is assigned to a job plot, you can also see which residence he is assigned to. He should be assigned to both. He has a house where he relaxes and sleeps, and he has a job. Next, I'm going to create a couple of industrial plots. Now, these are the things that start out as scrap heaps, but end up looking like warehouses. Oh, I think I placed that incorrectly. Yeah, the front is... I can snap these if I get the front area correctly. There you go. Okay, they're snapped in a staggered manner. I quite like that. They will need powered again. Don't worry if you don't have enough settlers to assign to your factory areas immediately. Obviously, food is a priority, and until you start upgrading the food areas, you probably need most of your settlers on food production. Each one will produce 2 to start with, so at least half of your settlers will be on food production. Once you upgrade these, or once they get upgraded by your settlers, you will need less farmers and can have more people doing factory work or selling stuff. So let's do the commercial plots now. Where are the... Here we go. Commercial wood. I'm going to place 6 shops around this pool. I'm not going to make them cover the pool completely because actually I will need a water purifier in there. Well, I won't. I could place normal extractors, but I like having a water purifier in there. The reason for that is each time I make a new plot, my demands go up. I need more water. I may need more defense. You can probably see my defense is going down relatively. There you go, 79. The more things I build, the more defense I need, which does make sense. So I will have to start creating a little more. How many have I got now? I've got 5. A 6th is what I need. There are 6 types of shops. Which shop gets built is pretty random. However, it will not select the same shop type twice until you've got all 6. So don't worry, you're not going to end up with like 6 armory vendors and no normal traders. However, if you want your normal trader, you may have to try a few times to get one. You could build a trader, and if it's not the right type, junk it and build a new one. But that's probably something you're going to want to avoid doing, as it's a little wasteful of both resources and time. I now have my commercial district set up. In the center here, I may even put the water purifier up now just to make sure it fits before they start building. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it. That is how long it takes to build a settlement with this mod. Not long at all. Obviously, it's in its basic stages at the moment. I will probably need to make a few more residential plots, maybe a couple more industrial plots. I will have to add some more water and some more defense as it starts to grow. But for its initial phases, for this, early stage when we only have 6 settlers, this is enough. I can now leave and come back, and in a few weeks, there'll actually be a reasonably lively settlement here. Of course, there is no reason why you can't add your own pieces if you so desire, if you want to add your own special creation, or you just want one of the prefab buildings for yourself, and you want something a little bigger and more intimidating to impress everyone else, if I can actually find a place to fit it, you can do that. You're not limited to just the sim settlement stuff. You can build whatever you want side by side with these settlement plots. So even if you are someone like me who actually enjoys the building process, you can mix and match. You can create a few small things to start with, perhaps when you first get to a settlement and you don't have time to create an amazing settlement for them, you create a few small houses, then come back at a later date and create something a little more special, perhaps a very large bar, perhaps you want to run the shops yourself but leave them to do the farming. Who knows? It's completely and utterly up to you. You now have the choice to be a builder or be a manager of the settlements. This is already a great mod, and I know the mod author is active in finding ways to improve it, so it's probably only going to get better. And I can only hope that Bethesda are taking note, because honestly, this is a game changer where the settlements are concerned. And that is where we're going to leave this video. I am of course going to end with the screenshots that you guys have been posting. A big thank you to everyone who has done so. If you would like to contribute an image for me to use in one of my videos, I will leave a link down below telling you exactly how you can do that, and let me thank you in advance for doing so. I'll be back the next time a mod grabs me by the scruff of the neck and says, "Pay me some attention," and I hope you can join me for that video whenever it will happen. I look forward to seeing you there, and until then, remember as always, have fun. If you're curious as to whether I've covered a mod in one of my videos, feel free to go along to my website gophersvids.com and check the search functionality out. Just type the name of the mod you're interested in, open up the settings and filter by mods only. Click for search and you will see whether or not I've covered that mod. Click on the mod and it will also show you any of the videos this mod appears in.